This is you regaining your self-trust. This is you saying that you're going to do something for yourself, not from an external coach, not from anybody that you have to report to. This is purely you doing this for you because you said you would do it. If this is the new me, then that has to carry over in all areas of my life. I can't say I'm this new person if it's only in one area. Welcome to the Fire Within podcast. Embrace and remember who you really are and reignite the spark within you that reminds you that you are made for more in this life. My name is Carrie Jokala. I am your host. I am a Reiki master teacher, a fitness instructor, a wife, a mom to 2 little boys, and this is episode 218, and I have so many ideas flowing through that I want to use for the podcast, but I'm going to stick to what I said last week, that this would be the week of the lessons so far that I have learned from doing 75 hard. I am not done with 75 hard. I don't think I'm even technically, I'm not. I know I'm not. I know how to count. I'm not in the middle even of 75 hard. The day I'm recording this is day 22 of 75 hard because I started on January 1st. And you've got to go for 75 days. And I'll tell you, I started really picking up on these couple of lessons by like day 8. Now, I believe that lessons, advice, general principles and teaching, etc., carry over from industry to industry, and therefore each part of your life, one part to the other. Whatever you can apply in, say, your fitness in your life can be applied to business, can be applied to your relationships, to your spirituality. The general teachings, the general lessons from all of these can be transferred over. The question is, do we let them transfer over? Because I can be really consistent in fitness. That comes really easily to me. I've had a hard time transferring that over to business. Also, side note, I don't know if you're going to see any of it because I ended up not releasing the last one that I did either. I'm not really quite recording for YouTube. Maybe I'll start doing that, but I need some B-roll and some extra content for my Instagram. So I'm video recording myself on my phone while I talk, and it's really throwing me off because usually I'm just kind of like looking off into space, looking off in whatever direction, looking at the floor while I'm recording a podcast so I can think and focus and get my thoughts together. So to keep my eyes open and look at a screen is really disconcerting. So I'm hoping that I don't have to edit too much. I'm not going to edit the video. You're not going to see a video unless you see a clip on YouTube. On Instagram, I guess I'm eventually going to have to do YouTube, huh? Because that just came out. That was a little slip. But you're not going to see it for real. You're not going to see this one right now unless I do end up using a clip on Instagram. And actually, the real reason I didn't use one was because the sound wasn't that great because I didn't have my earbud mic hooked up to my phone. And I have no idea. I wasn't going to go through the rigmarole of trying to sync up the audio from the podcast to the video I recorded because there's edits in the audio but not in the videos. It's the whole thing. And I don't have the patience or the time or the energy for that. But yeah, that's just a random aside that you don't need to know. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just, yeah. But anyway, my original point is that these lessons from 75 hard. I don't know if you can hear my son in the background. As long as he's having fun, it's fine. Everything's okay. These lessons transfer over. So whether you are here because you are on a spiritual journey or you're trying to figure out your purpose, you're trying to figure out your path in life, whatever it is, whatever reason you're here, trust me, these lessons carry over. So I do have to say first, if you haven't listened to the last few episodes, that there's been a shift in energy, in my own personal energy, but I also feel it's tied to the shift in the collective energy. So my personal mindset is different. My energy is a little different. There's some upgrades, some up-leveling that has both already happened and that I might also still be in the middle of trying to sort out. But hopefully you're feeling a similar shift for yourself. And I don't know a lot about astrology. I can't quite decipher all of it. I only know what Pluto moving into Aquarius supposedly means because of what I saw from other people. And supposedly, this is the end of a long cycle that began in 2008, where you may have been experiencing some hardship. You may have gone through some really tough things, constant struggles, one major struggle, just a lot of more negative energy, perhaps, less hopeful, a little more bleak feeling. And now we're entering supposedly into a time of fresh energy, more abundance, kind of like the weight coming off of our shoulders, that sort of thing. And I'm inclined to believe that because of how I've been feeling personally. And I found out a long time ago that I think also I'm pretty empathetic. So you may possibly feel the same thing, but I tend to be very connected more than I realize to the collective energy. Like that energy might go through me to be processed sometimes if I don't take a stance on it, on my energy, protect my energy. But the reason I say all of that is because 75 hard is hard. It's 75 days of this, and I'm going to tell you what it is in a moment, what all the things are that you have to do. But the biggest thing here is that you are accountable only to yourself. So I think especially if you're not already doing at least one or two of these things on the list that you have to do, it could be extra hard for you. So if after listening to this episode, you decide that you want to attempt 75 hard, I am in no way trying to discourage you. I'm hoping that your energy is already in the right place. But if you go into this with a mindset of you're probably going to fail, of, oh my God, this is really hard, or you start to try to allow yourself to make changes or fib a little bit on whether or not you actually completed one of the tasks, then you're not likely going to see the same results. You're probably going to fall off because you're telling yourself you're going to fall off. You are probably more likely to treat it like a chore, which means you'll probably fail. So I know this sounds like I'm trying to talk you out of it. I'm rather trying to encourage you to go into it with the proper mindset. Basically, you have to be ready to be fully committed, to know that you are all in no matter what. That might be lesson number 3 that I didn't write down, but it's tied to the others anyway, so we'll get there. So before I get to the lessons, which are coming in a second, here are the tasks that you have to do for this challenge. It's a free challenge. There's no way to be an affiliate for it because it's free. And again, there's no one to be accountable to except yourself. You are completely on the honor system. So that's the other thing I wanted to say. If you have a hard time holding yourself accountable. This will either teach you to hold yourself accountable or it will set you up for failure. So that's where the right mindset has to come in. So every single day for 75 days, you must do 2 45-minute workouts a day. One of those must be outdoors no matter what. And yeah, it's been below zero around here lately. And I'll save that for later. Let me give you the tasks. So 2 45-minute workouts. One must be outside no matter what. You have to follow a diet. It does not tell you and will never tell you what kind of diet to follow. So you get to pick, but you've got to be honest with yourself. You have to read 10 pages of nonfiction of your choice, but nonfiction per day. Obviously, you can read more, but minimum 10 pages. You have to drink a gallon of water every day. You have to take a progress picture. You don't have to post it anywhere. Again, there's no outside accountability here. There's no external requirements. You never have to show these pictures to anybody, but you must take a progress picture every day. No cheat meals and no alcohol for 75 days. And if you fail in any way, in even the slightest little bit on any one of these tasks, if you are 1 page short on your reading, if you are 1 ounce short on your water, and so on, you fail and you must start over at day 1. I'm curious to know how many people actually bother going ahead to start over at day 1 if they fail. I have attempted 75 hard a couple times in the past. One attempt was more real, I guess, than the other. But I don't think I got further than a month the first time, and I didn't get very far at all the second time. And I think I briefly may have talked about this already, but I know part of it is I did what you're not supposed to do, and I tried to modify the program. Like, I can do 1 workout a day, but there's no way I'm going to make 2 happen, especially 1 outside. That wasn't going to happen. I had a toddler and a small baby at the time, and I just didn't see how I was going to make that work. I didn't really get the reading done all the time. I don't remember if I actually made it to a gallon of water. I think I did for a while. I know one of the times I did for a while, for at least a few weeks, but that's as long as it lasted. And the only reason I remember that is because when I was teaching my classes, I was sweating profusely, like way more than I normally do. And I'm positive it's because I was drinking so much water. But the reason you're not supposed to modify anything is because it is supposed to be hard. It is supposed to be inconvenient. Because the guy who created this, Andy Frisella, he emphasizes that this is not a fitness challenge. People obviously look at it as a fitness challenge, and it makes sense because you're having to do 2 workouts a day. Who does 2 workouts a day? Again, he doesn't tell you what workouts to do, so we'll talk about that. But who's working out twice a day, right? And then you have to follow a diet. You have to drink a gallon of water. You're taking a progress picture of your physical body. It looks and sounds like a fitness challenge, but he insists, and I'm with him on this, that it is a mental toughness challenge. You know, part of me thought maybe as much as I want to do this, because part of it is to change my body, that maybe it would have been easier to wait until it's much warmer outside so that the outdoor workout wouldn't be that hard and that inconvenient. Because it's still not easy, but especially in the first couple of weeks, it's a little tough to mentally prepare yourself to go outside when it's freezing cold. And Last week, it was below 0 for many days. Like seriously, when it was 1 degree outside, I'm not kidding. I know people joke all the time, but it really did feel like a heat wave. Like it felt significantly warmer and better and easier to be outside when it was 1 degree versus -9. I think it might have even been down to -11 at one point. But also, another side note, you know how long I would have to wait to start this challenge? If I waited for it to warm up, it could be freaking May before it's actually really warm. Maybe April, but that's not guaranteed around here. I like the 4 seasons, not the group. I mean, I like the group too, but I'm not a fan of like this 6 months of winter that we get around here. Like I'll stick it out for 4, but that's it. Then it's got to start to warm up. Anyway, the reason it's a mental toughness challenge is because, again, these things are supposed to be inconvenient because this is you regaining your self-trust. This is you saying that you're going to do something for yourself, not from an external coach, not from anybody that you have to report to. This is purely you doing this for you because you said you would do it. And you being honest with yourself about whether or not you're actually doing it. Are you actually showing up for yourself? This is significant for me because while I can absolutely show up for myself in a fitness capacity, I don't have any trouble eating healthy anymore. I don't have any trouble getting myself to work out. I'm a fitness instructor. I like working out. I need that same energy in my business. I struggle, and you may have noticed if you've been around for a while, I struggle at staying consistent. I struggle at showing up as often as I would like to show up. I struggle at keeping my energy level where it needs to be excited about the things that I'm putting out there, the things that I want to do. So in addition to changing my body, I want the mental toughness part of this. I need the mental toughness part of this. I need to regain my self-trust because there have been so many times, you've probably even heard it on the podcast, where I say I'm going to do something and then I don't. And it's not really because I don't want to. It's because I let emotion and energy and I don't want to say negative mindset, but mindset dips, confidence dips, get in the way. So official lesson number 1 has been patience, because I have put the same energy into this that I put into becoming a fitness instructor, to getting certified in Reiki, that if I am committing to this, I am all in. Like I'm not giving up. I finally have that same energy to this challenge, which is showing me that if this is who I say I am now, if this is the new me, then that has to carry over in all areas of my life. I can't say I'm this new person if it's only in one area. But I also have to be patient in waiting for the results. And that sounds so simple. We know that. We know that things don't happen overnight. We know we have to be patient. But that doesn't stop us. It doesn't stop me from becoming impatient, from getting frustrated when the results aren't showing up. If we want to talk about the physical sense, I've been very frustrated with my body and its lack of change in the past couple of years, despite everything that I've tried. And now granted, the only things that I'm trying are working out and eating properly, but it's been frustrating because I know how to eat properly. I work out. I feel like I probably, even when I'm not getting a workout every day, I'm working out more often than the average person probably. And literally nothing has changed. Like not even in the slightest. And if there has been any change, it's very quickly gone back to where it was. But this is going to sound really weird. I can't remember if I said it on the podcast. I don't think I did. Maybe I just said it in my stories. But I'm looking at myself in the mirror with a lot more love, with a lot more joy, I guess, because I know that things are finally changing. Here's the weird part. So I probably should have started with actual measurements, the way you would take measurements in every spot in your body to determine if those changes are happening, if inches are either coming off, if you want them to come off, or grow, if you want them to grow, if you want bigger biceps or whatever, smaller waist. I've only ever really measured myself in recent years around one spot around my midsection, basically the biggest part, because that's the part that I want to see change. And I've been looking in the mirror. Oh, and I don't really weigh myself very often. If I do step on the scale, it's not because I care about what the number is. I really, truly don't. But I just wanted some evidence that something's moving, that things are changing somehow. And since I've started this challenge and I've been looking in the mirror with my own eyes, here in reality, looking in the mirror, I know that my midsection has changed. I can see it. I can see how my clothes are laying differently. I can just see how my body itself looks different. And I got really excited. I'm like, oh my God, things are finally moving. Things are finally changing. Things are happening. And then I measured that spot around my waist and I got on the scale and the tape measure showed me the same number of inches. And I weighed the same on the scale. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense because I know what I see. I know that things are changing. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I know. And then I'm looking at my progress pictures and I don't know if I'm in bad lighting or at the wrong angle or what, but it has been hard to see noticeable changes in looking at my progress pictures. But then I put the progress pictures down and I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, I can see right here, like there's a spot right, maybe I should have measured this to begin with, but like right under my rib cage. I know that that spot is different. My obliques right along the sides of my body. I know that area looks different. I know that my clothes, like I said, are laying differently on my body. And I know, I'm well aware that there probably have been changes within my body. Perhaps I have lost some more fat, but I may have also gained muscle. I haven't done a scan that I have access to at the gym. I haven't done that to see. So that's a possibility, but I'm holding off on doing that. I want to wait because despite what the numbers are telling me, I know what I see with my own eyes and I know how I feel. And then I'm also watching my friend Logan, who I technically started 75 hard on the same day that she did, but then I fell off. And if you listen to, might have been last week's podcast, you know that there was a little shakeup that threw me off. But I'm watching her. She's still on this journey. She is fully committed to this as well. Like, and the same idea as me, like, it's not just 75 days. The 75 days are going to pass anyway. This is just who we are now. But watching her and seeing her body change is giving me both hope and patience because I know I'm doing this no matter what. So rather than being frustrated that I'm not where I want to be yet, 22 whole days in, I'm excited to see where I'm going to be by day 30, by day 45, and holy crap, by day 75. What am I going to look like and feel like by then? And I keep reminding myself to transfer that over to business. I feel very patient in the last couple of years in working to grow my business, but I've also been very inconsistent. So that has brought a certain level of impatience with it, but it's clearly all my own doing. So this is showing me and reminding me that if I'm going to show up for myself in this area, in this fitness area, if I really want to say it's mental toughness, it's got to come with me into this other area of my life. And it's showing me that I can't keep letting obstacles keep me back, because there's always going to be obstacles. But I would let things stop me. I would let things change my energy and then therefore prevent me from showing up. And I can't do that anymore. I can't afford to do that anymore. I really am officially sick enough of my own BS. I've said it a few times over the last year or so, but I'm at a different point of a different level of being sick of my own BS. Like, how ridiculous is it to let anyone or anything stand in your way? There's a whole separate podcast coming on that, but let me just say that you really have to take it to heart that if there's an obstacle that shows up, it doesn't necessarily mean that if you keep forcing, you keep trying, you find a way through, that it's going to still happen in exactly the way you want it to, the way you expect it to. You might have to look for another option, another way, another path. The point is, you can't let it stop you. And I'm working through that myself. I'm learning that. But can you show up for yourself? Can you trust yourself? Can you show up and do what you said you were going to do, regardless of what happens externally, regardless of maybe even how it makes you feel internally? I'm not saying pretend ever that you don't feel a certain way or that something's not affecting you. That's not healthy. That's not good. It doesn't mean you can't take a pause, but don't let that pause turn into a stop, especially when you have that fire burning within you that tells you that you're made for more, because you are. Lesson number 2, what we build up in our minds and say is hard really isn't that freaking hard once you start doing it. I don't know if you've experienced this before, but I know I have with many things, small and big, that I spend more time dreading, whining, complaining, hemming and hawing about getting something done than the time it ends up actually taking usually to get the thing done. Sometimes the thing really does turn out to be a pain in the ass. And it does take a while, and it does get frustrating, especially if it's technology related for me. But usually, I'd say 90% of the time, it's really not that bad. And it's like, oh, I got this done in 15 minutes. And I've spent 3 weeks putting it off. Another example, this having to do an outdoor workout. So I have admittedly kind of taken the easiest path possible for this outdoor workout, and I typically go for a walk. But I promise you, it's not a leisurely walk. It's a decently brisk walk, especially brisk if it's -9 outside. But I'm bundled up properly, unless I forgot my scarf. But other than that, I'm bundled up properly. And it's really not that bad. And I found myself looking forward to it. It's fun to be outside. I'm kind of annoyed that some of the paths that I like to take are now covered with snow and have not been shoveled, probably isn't the right word. Plowed. That's the word that I want. Because ain't nobody going down any of these paths with a shovel. Not with the amount of snow that's down these ways. It's going to be some kind of a plow. But when it was still a little bit warmer in the first days of the year, I got my kids in the wagon and pulled them behind me for some extra weight, and that was kind of fun. I'm actually looking forward to it warming up enough that I can do that again. It's been so cold. They wouldn't last for 45 minutes, even bundled up, just sitting in a wagon doing nothing. Like, I'm staying warm because I'm moving. If they're just sitting in a wagon, no matter how bundled up they are, no matter how many blankets I give them, like they're not gonna last. So I've been finding other times to go for my walk, but then there have been times when it's not possible to go for a walk. So then I have to do some kind of an actual workout outside. And I'm not bringing any weights outside. I'm not doing anything that requires me to get on the ground because it's freezing cold. There's snow that hasn't been fully shoveled away that's now turned to ice. So I have, in those cases, I've typically chosen Taibo, the workout that first got me into fitness all the years ago when it was on VHS. I have found them on YouTube, like the actual Taibo workouts on Billy Blank's actual channel. Like, they're not bootlegs, they're him uploading his videos. And then once or twice I've done Turbo Jam, which is what I moved to and eventually got certified to teach, which is called Turbo Kick in the gyms. That was my first step into becoming a certified fitness instructor. But I get as bundled up as I need to, and I set up my phone or whatever outside, put an earbud in, and do the workout. Those ones have been especially hard to psych myself up to go out and do, because I also have typically needed to do those pretty early in the morning. And I don't know about you, but I think it's common that when you first get out of bed in the morning, that's probably the hardest time to psych yourself up to do anything. It was hard enough to get out of a warm, cozy bed. It's extra hard to convince yourself to go directly outside into the cold after you get bundled up properly, of course, but to go pretty much directly outside into the cold and start moving in the cold. But again, same thing. I have found that once I get going, actually doing that workout outside, it's pretty dang fun. And I've had so many people, when I tell them that this is what I'm doing, they're like, oh my God, that sounds awful. That sounds really hard. Oh, I couldn't do that. Oh my God, that's so good for you. Good job. Like, I'm so proud of you. That's awesome that you're doing that. And I'm sitting here like, I have found out it's really not that bad. But we're all overthinking things. We are convincing ourselves that it's harder than it needs to be. And the longer we sit there and build it up in our minds, the more we put it off, the less likely we're going to be to do it. And then we'll never find out that it actually really isn't that bad. It wasn't that hard. Now, that does leave the 10%, I would say, if we're sticking to my theoretical percentage here. That leaves the 10% of things that still will be as hard as you were expecting them to be, maybe even harder. But the thing about that, so far, in my experience, if you've started to regain that self-trust and you have shown yourself that most things that you have built up in your mind to be hard really turn out to be not that hard, you take that same energy and you put it into the things that are challenging, the things that are difficult. And then you prove to yourself there that you can stick it out, that you can still show up for yourself even when it's hard, that you can speak your mind, that you can stand up for yourself when you need to. And going back to the whole obstacle idea, maybe I'm simply just rephrasing myself, but if you go for it and you do the things that are hard, it still doesn't mean that you're going to have the outcome that you were hoping for. This isn't a movie, unfortunately, although it also kind of is, but that's a whole separate podcast. It's not guaranteed that you're going to get the outcome you want. But if you keep showing up for yourself, you will get the outcome that is for your best and highest good. And I know you don't want to hear that now, but when you get to the other side, you will look back. If you continued to show up, if you continued to power through and prove to yourself that you can do the things that you say you're going to do, that you can do the challenging, difficult things, you're going to get to the other side and look back and see how it all worked out for the best, even if it wasn't the way that you expected or wanted it to go. Yeah, I just went back looking for what I said might be the third lesson because I can't remember anymore because there's been a break in recording here, which you wouldn't know just by listening. And I can't find it, but I did come across it. I kind of did just repeat and rephrase myself, but that's okay. That's pretty much it. Those are the two big lessons. Patience, which involves regaining your self-trust, showing yourself that you can show up for yourself, trusting that results will come, trusting that your manifestations will come, but you have to keep showing up. You can't just show up when you feel like it. And I'm really talking to myself right now, but hopefully that's going to help you too. And then realizing that you are more capable than you give yourself credit for. Because once you do the hard things, you find out that most of them really aren't that hard. It's not that bad. It might even be kind of fun. It might become something that you start to look forward to that you didn't think could be fun, and then you start doing it and you realize it actually is. So with all that, I would like to invite you into the Fire Within 2.0 challenge, which is a brand new 3-day free experience happening inside my Facebook group. By time this episode is released, we will be on day 2. So hopefully you're already in the group and you started to catch day 1, but you can always go back and watch the recordings. If you catch this early enough on Wednesday when it comes out, you might still be able to catch us live. Each day is going to be at noon Central Time. And then the final day will be on Friday, also at noon. And I'm going to stick to my word on this one because the last time I ran the Fire Within challenge, I said I was going to take the videos down, turn it into a paid offering, and then I never did. But it really is new year, new me. So hop in, let me light the fire under your butts with this Fire Within 2.0 challenge. And I'll give you about a week to catch up on the recordings. And then they are coming down. And they are getting turned into a paid offering. It probably won't be for very much, but if you don't catch it while it's free and you still want it, then you're going to have to pay for it. And I was putting out a new program called Rise, which I've talked about a little bit, but I'm not entirely sure on that anymore. I might do something a little different with that, so hold tight on that. I think there's going to be a different offering. Nothing surprising, nothing completely brand new, but a different offering coming off the back of the Fire Within 2.0. Nothing that you have to continue to. It's not going to be something that is for everybody, but if you feel so inclined and you feel like it might be part of your calling, come with me and we can move on to that next thing for you, but we'll talk about that soon. So that's where I'm going to leave it. If any part of this episode or any previous episode resonated with you, please share it. Go ahead and share a screenshot, a screen flow, post it to your social media. If it's on Instagram, please tag me at I am Carrie Jokala. If you have something you'd like to share in response, if you have questions, if you have suggestions for future topics, please let me know. You can post it inside the Fire Within Facebook group, which you should be in, especially since that's where the challenge is going to take place. And also, it really, really helps in the podcast algorithms if you would leave a 5-star rating and a positive review. I am deeply appreciative of those reviews, of all of the shares, the tags on Instagram. So please don't be afraid. Let me know your feedback. Let me know what you need more of. Let me know what's helping. Let me know what you still have lingering questions about. And of course, I'm always here if you feel called to doing a Reiki session, an Akashic Records reading, an Oracle card reading. That's all available on my website. All the links are in the show notes, everything that I have talked about here. So please go ahead and check them out. And I hope to see you inside the Fire Within Challenge. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time.